Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, Lou D. Oh, double G, and I watched the first two episodes of Daredevil Born Again. Now, with this show, there's a lot to live up to, right? The original Netflix series was so good, action-packed, story-driven, all of it, 9 out of 10, so good. I say 9 out of 10 because season 2 was kind of garbo in my opinion. That's not true. Some of it was garbo, some of it wasn't. It had that really iconic rooftop scene with the Punisher and Daredevil. So this show starts off with, I'm sure it says it in the title, but spoiler alert, with Foggy dying right off the bat. Now, I understand that they were trying to go for like this jarring effect, but I don't know, it just didn't work for me. It felt out of place. It felt just not natural, and just kind of, given that we already had a certain way this show kind of was presented in, this felt kind of, I don't know, it just felt really out of place for me. After Foggy dies, Matt takes a year off from being Daredevil, and he's trying to like get back on his feet. As the trailer mentions, Kingpin becomes the mayor of New York City. I said that weird, New York City. So we're kind of, that's basically the first two episodes, right? Like seeing the election happen and how Matt deals with that, how Matt confronts him, and how Matt is kind of confronting his kind of new life without Foggy and like things like that. In these first two episodes, we get introduced to White Tiger, who is Hector Ayala. I believe Hector's his first name. I know Ayala's the second name. The last name, second name, I don't know what I'm saying, is the last name. He has the amulet and all of that. At this point, we don't really like know how truthful we are saying to the comics here, but White Tiger is in fact introduced, and obviously Kingpin as the mayor has a larger version to vigilantes. So things happen, and we get to a point to where Matt is representing him in a case where he accidentally killed a cop, but it wasn't him being a vigilante who did that. It was him being a good Samaritan. He didn't have the suit on when he committed said crime, and so Matt is trying to prove that he's innocent and was just trying to help someone out. He just happens to also be White Tiger. And then we kind of end with Matt being in a bind towards the end, where the cops who kind of framed him for killing another cop are looking for the guy who he was trying to save. He ran off, and long story short, Matt gets him out of there. They see Matt in the apartment where the guy escapes, because that's the only guy that can essentially get Hector out of the situation and make it so he's not incarcerated. So they go through it, and they're trying to kill him. Matt's there behind the door instead of, I can't remember his name, something Torres. I can't remember his first name. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna kick your ass now, blind guy." And so Matt takes a beating, and he's like, "I'm gonna take." My assumption is that he was planning to take the beating, and then they were gonna leave, and everything was gonna be fine. But then they pulled a gun on him and decided to kill him, and so Matt had to whoop their asses, right? And so the episode ends on the cliffhanger of Matt had to whoop their asses. They might say something now because he's obviously not going to kill them. In the trailer, you see the arm break, right? That was a part of that fight scene. And I got to say, that was the best moment in the whole two episodes. Presumably, you're watching this because you have seen the first two episodes and you're trying to get people's thoughts and opinions about it. So if you haven't seen it, this probably sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo to you. Just kind of how I'm like explaining this. I'm trying not to like talk too much about like the details of it all, and more talk about my thoughts and opinions about the show, obviously. So thoughts and opinions. The first episode in general isn't that good. It's a solid 6 out of 10. And I say that because a lot of the visual effects aren't very good. It's super awkward. Daredevil has a fight scene with Poindexter, aka Bullseye, and it just looks, it's animated in part. It's also in part like actual stage combat. But there's moments in this situation where there's like smoke, but you can so tell that it's not like actual smoke. And I understand that that's probably very, very cheap to just throw it on the VFX, whatever. But I will say, using practical effects goes so long with audience retention, right? Or like audience being so in it. Like, it looks real. This just looks like somebody got a green screen effect and just put the smoke, the green screen smoke effect over it. And it just didn't really look good. It made me get really disconnected from the fight. And again, I kind of said that it just felt like it didn't really make a lot of sense anyway. And so I was just totally disconnected from that whole scene. In addition to, in this fight, there was also moments where they were cutting between real fights and like CG animated fighting, and you could totally tell, and it was done in a super dark place, obviously, to help hide some of those things, and none of it flowed. It felt really awkward. I'm not sure if this was Disney like trying to get the formula down, just kind of how Netflix had it down. I feel like the answer is clear. Don't use practical effects, right? Because it just doesn't look really, really good at all. Like, it just doesn't. Episode 2 focused a lot on the courtroom drama, on the drama of it all. We had Kingpin and Matt's kind of altercation. We had Matt and Karen coming back together and like talking. There was some drama there. We had Matt potentially having a girlfriend and like kind of that advancing a little further. And then, like I said, we had that awesome fight scene at the end. That felt like they hit their stride a little better in that episode. Solid like 8 out of 10 for that episode. Put the two episodes together, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. Just because that first half of the first episode was kind of garbage. Like, there was a lot of scenes in there that felt disconnected. They didn't feel like a streamlined story. Without getting too much in the nitty gritty, one of the things that I really didn't like that the first episode introduced, and it's still in the second episode, and I don't like this new addition to the show. Maybe I'm gonna get used to it. Maybe I will like it. If you remember Ben Urich in the first show, Wilson Fisk killed him. His granddaughter is now a aspiring reporter as well, and so she has this like TV show. I don't know if it's like a YouTube channel where she's like putting out the news or if this is on TV. I don't quite remember at this point, but it's called BB something. I can't quite remember. Her name's BB though. And we randomly like cut to people on the street where they're like, what do you think about she's asking as a reporter, what do you think about Wilson Fisk? And the people are like, I love him, I hate him, which in theory sounds good, but it feels, in the editing room, it just felt not seamless, like, at all. It felt like really out of place, really, really like just not cohesive, man. It was really awkward. So I hope like moving forward gets better, because I don't mind the idea of like using that as our way to connect with the characters we don't normally see, right? And using that as a vehicle to get that insight, because I do think it adds more to the story. And I really like that they're bringing back, they're digging up the Ben Urich thing, right? Because that could be something that bites him in the ass down the line, and maybe she's the one that figures out that he killed Ben, and so therefore he's no, you know, as all that goes, you can see the foreshadowing there with what I'm talking about. But that's kind of what I mean by some scenes feel pretty like just choppy and not cohesive at all. On the plus side though, me as an audience member, I'm very interested to see how Wilson Fisk is gonna do as mayor, and like, how did he get here? Why is he doing this? What's in it for him? Like, that has me very, very intrigued at this moment, and just kind of see how him and Matt meet up again, and what exactly that means, and what's White Tiger's storyline. They've mentioned Spider-Man in it. They've mentioned a few other characters I can't quite remember, but it's really cool to kind of see this more heavily connected, and just to kind of understand what they're going for here. I'm intrigued, to say the least, and I'm looking forward to reviewing the next episodes. Bye.